Look at the screen you are reading this on. There is a real chance the buoyant display itself was made by a single company. So, quite possibly, were the memory chips remembering your place and the storage holding your photos. And if it happens to be a Samsung phone, then that one company made almost the entire device. Stranger still, even if it is not a Samsung phone, even if it is made by Samsung's fiercest rival, that same company may well have built the screen and the chips inside it. This is a series about the companies that run the world, and today it is Samsung. Samsung represents a kind of power almost no other technology company possesses, the power of the giant that makes both the parts and the products. Most firms do one or the other. They design finished gadgets, or they supply components to those who do. Samsung does both, at colossal scale, which means it routinely sells crucial parts to the very competitors it is trying to beat in the shops. It is, at once, the arms dealer and the general. To understand it, you must know that Samsung is not really one company, but a sprawling Korean conglomerate, a chaebol, with fingers in everything from shipbuilding to insurance. Its crown jewel is Samsung Electronics, and that single company looms so large over South Korea that its fortunes and the nations are almost inseparable. To a degree unusual anywhere in the world, one corporation and one country rise and fall together. The sheer breadth of what Samsung Electronics makes is staggering. Memory chips and logic chips, the brilliant displays in phones and televisions, the phones themselves and the TVs, and a whole household of appliances. Very few companies on earth stretch all the way from the most fundamental silicon components to the finished consumer product sitting in your hand. Samsung spans that entire distance, top to bottom. But if there is a single crown at the center of this empire, it is memory. Samsung is the largest maker in the world of the memory chips that nearly every digital device depends on, the fast-working memory that lets machines think, and the flash storage that lets them remember. In a very real sense, a huge share of the world's capacity to store and process information runs through chips that Samsung makes. And memory has a dazzling twin, the display. Samsung is also the world's leading maker of the vivid screens that light up the finest phones and televisions. The brilliant glass you stare into for hours each day on device after device is very often quietly its handiwork. And the memory business itself is a brutal, unforgiving arena. Memory chips are close to a commodity, and the industry swings through violent booms and busts as gluts of supply send prices crashing, and then shortages send them soaring again. It is a game that has bankrupted many who dared to play it. Today it is dominated by a tiny oligopoly, Samsung, alongside its Korean rival SK Hynix and the American firm Micron. And Samsung's great weapon is its sheer scale and deep pockets, letting it keep investing straight through the very downturns that cripple its weaker competitors. The numbers that flow from all this are immense. Between its chips, its displays, and its devices, Samsung Electronics generates revenue that places it among the largest technology companies in the world and makes it, by a wide margin, the single most important company in its home country. It is a genuine titan, one whose products and components touch a remarkable fraction of all the electronics on the planet. Now comes the most fascinating twist of all, the one that captures Samsung's strange position perfectly. For years, Samsung has manufactured key components, including advanced displays and memory, that go inside the iPhones of Apple, its single greatest rival in the smartphone market. So when you buy the competing phone, Samsung often still profits from the sale. It has engineered a position where, in some contests, it wins no matter who wins. That points to the true nature of its moat, which is vertical integration. Because Samsung makes so much of the stack itself, it controls its own supply of critical parts, its own costs, and its own timing, in a way that a phone-only or a chip-only company simply cannot. It can pour capital across the entire chain at once, from raw silicon to polished product, a breadth of capability that is extraordinarily difficult and expensive for any rival to reproduce. It is naturally attacked on every front, because it competes on every front. In memory, it battles SK Hynix and Micron. In the business of making chips for others, it trails the mighty TSMC. In phones, It is squeezed between Apple above and a host of aggressive Chinese brands below. Samsung is perpetually fighting a war on many fronts at once, and yet its very breadth is what lets it absorb blows in one area while advancing in another. There is also a deeper unease that surrounds the company, this central to a nation. Samsung's dominance over the South Korean economy has raised long standing questions about concentration and influence, and the family dynasty that controls it has been entangled in serious governance and legal controversies over the years. When one family's conglomerate is this intertwined with a country's prosperity, the line between corporate power and national power grows genuinely blurred. So we reach the question this series always asks of what would break if Samsung vanished. And the answer is severe. Because it makes so much of the world's memory and so many of its displays, its sudden absence would send shockwaves through the entire electronics industry, spiking prices and starving countless products of the essential components they cannot easily source elsewhere. Whole supply chains for devices of every brand quietly lean on this one company. Which brings us to the uncomfortable question, in a distinctly industrial form. Is it healthy for so many of the essential building blocks of modern electronics, the memory and the screens that almost every device needs, to depend so heavily on a single, vast, vertically integrated giant that both supplies the industry and competes within it? The efficiency of it is remarkable, but so is the concentration and the tangle of interests it creates. To be fair, and it genuinely deserves saying, what Samsung has built is a monument to engineering and manufacturing discipline. It relentlessly drove down the cost of memory and displays, helping make powerful electronics affordable for billions of people. And it transformed South Korea in a single generation, from a war-torn country into one of the great technological powers of the world, an achievement of almost staggering scale. And that is the deeper lesson of this particular giant. There is a rare and formidable kind of power in refusing to choose between making the components and making the products, and instead mastering both. Samsung understood that if you can supply the essential parts that everyone needs, including your own rivals, then you hold a piece of the whole industry and you profit from its success no matter which brand happens to be winning this year. So the next time you hold up any sleek device and admire its brilliant screen, pause on a quiet possibility. Whatever name is printed on the front, there is a real chance that the glowing display or the memory or the very ability of that machine to think and remember came from one enormous company on the far side of the world, quietly building the pieces from which so much of our technology is made.